coming to HR or you're going to security saying, so-and-so is really weird, that's nothing that they can take action on because that doesn't mean the same thing to every person. Able to say, this is the body language that I observed. These are the behaviors. And being able to tie it all together, then HR or security or whomever can take that information and go, okay, I understand what you're saying. And now we know what to look for and watch for.
Hi there, I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Welcome, everyone, to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer, and today I have a very special guest. It is my friend, Kelly Sayre. Kelly empowers women with realistic tactics and tools to help them live life safely and on their own terms. Her refreshing angle on women's safety emphasizes non-physical, proactive, situational awareness techniques that recognize and avoid threatening situations before they happen. She's the author of Sharp Women, and she is trained in FEMA's Community Emergency Response Team program, the Department of Homeland Security's Active Shooter Preparedness Workshop, Texas A&M's Extension Services Crisis Communications and Special Events Risk Management, and is certified in Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines. Honestly, I didn't even know all that. Kelly, you are such a badass, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here and having more conversation with you.
Yes. Kelly is also about to launch the first women's personal safety subscription box. So I can't wait till we talk about that and hear what's going to be inside. But obviously, everyone, you can see why Kelly and I are simpatico and why I love her so much. We actually first met online, I believe, yes? Through social media?
Yep.
And then we actually met in person. I had dinner with her when I was in Minnesota, where she's from. And she, for the first time, made me try cheese curds. Do you all know what those are? It's a Midwest thing.
Fried cheese bits.
Yeah.
Deliciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wait every year until our local county fair, and then I go get my annual cheese curd basket.
I had heard of them for so many years. I'm like, that just doesn't sound appetizing. But then when I got it, I was basically, oh, they're like little fried mozzarella bits. But not mozzarella. Anyone, in case anyone was wondering out there. Anyway, you could see why I love Kelly so much. We have so much in common. She comes at personal safety for women, at the mindset, at situational awareness, all the things to help prevent danger before it occurs. And then I'll teach you how to kick someone's ass. So combined, we are like
we're peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
All
right. So before we get started, I'd like to start and set an intention for this episode for everyone listening. So when I was doing my quick little grounding exercise, thinking of you and our conversation and what people can get out of this, my intention is that every person, every woman especially listening, walks away with the ability to trust herself and her instincts just a little bit more, even if it's just 10% more that you start listening to yourself and trusting yourself. I believe that you could walk through the world with more confidence and less fear. Yes. I'm so curious. I'm not curious because I read the book, but can you tell everyone else, what is a sharp woman to you?
I believe all women are born sharp. There is the societal joke of the little girl who's sassy and says it exactly how it is. And somewhere along the line, as she's growing up, whether that's the culture she's raised in, the environment that she's surrounded by, the influential people in her life, all of those things, and just those social contracts. This is how you should be. Don't be rude. Don't be judgmental. Be kind. Be nice to everyone. And over the years, then she starts to second guess herself, second guess her intuition. Instead of standing up for herself or speaking up, she's, oh, I better not say that. I might offend someone or I might make someone uncomfortable. And we're conditioned. Just like a knife that you use in the kitchen over and over again to cut meals, to prep, all those different things, your edge gets dulled over time. But my stance is, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you need sharpening. So when I wrote my book and then we were trying to come up with the title for my book, it was, what do we do? How do we say this? Because I don't want to come from a place that believes women are broken. I don't believe we're broken at all. I think we've just had our edges dulled from trying to be what everybody else wants us to be or act the way everybody else wants us to act. And really what it's about is getting back to who we truly are, getting our edge back. And so that's why I call my book Sharp Women. And in it is just the chapters include different scenarios that have been shared with me over the years that so many women face. And there's so many nuances and gray areas. And we've just not had that voice saying, no, it's completely okay for you to say that or to do that or to say no or to walk away or to say this behavior is not okay with me and stand in your truth. Listen to yourself, feel confident in standing in your truth.
So I'm hearing intuition and setting boundaries, really important, and unlearning these social contracts, like you said, that we were fed as little girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. So tell me and tell everyone why you got into this work, because I know from experience, selling self-defense in any way, like I know we want to do this out of the goodness of our heart, but it's also a business. And I know how hard it is to run a business like this because it's an uncomfortable subject. Women do not want to talk about danger. They don't want to have to face it. And I'm not saying every woman, but for the most part, I've experienced that just a lot of people don't want to deal with the fact that, hey, it might not be safe out there for you, for your daughters, nieces, etc. So what made you come to this work?
Unlike you, I didn't have the martial arts training in my background. I wasn't law enforcement, wasn't military, got married, had a couple kids. And then I realized I don't know if I would know how to defend myself and protect my children. And what is ironic when I look back now after all that I learned is, but I never seemed to worry too much about my own safety enough to call action to do something about it. It wasn't until I had kids to protect.
Interesting.
Which I find a lot now, and maybe you do too, is I'll have moms reach out asking for training for their daughters.
Yeah.
And it's just as important for them.
Yeah.
And I took my first ever women's physical self-defense class. And at the very end of the class, after having done the whole time of hitting, kicking, punching, yelling, screaming, the instructor said, but ladies, the last thing you want to do is get into a physical fight. You need to be more situationally aware. And then he sent us on our way. And in my head, I was like, wait, stop. We just spent the whole time focused on the skills I'm supposed to avoid using. But the thing I was supposed to do, the skill I'm supposed to use to avoid it, you didn't talk about at all. What do you mean situational awareness? What am I looking for? How do I know I'm looking for the right things? And then if I see something, then what do I do? And from that class, the more questions I asked of individuals viewed as experts in self-defense and executive protection, in all of the kind of alphabet soup agencies who trained on tactics, they all knew what I meant. There was a lot of materials and trainings out there geared towards individuals who are at the front line of danger, are putting themselves in harm's way. And I was like, that's great. Thank you for all your service. But I'm a mom who just wants to go to the grocery store and be okay. I'm the mom or the woman who wants to go on a girls' trip and not have to worry about my safety when I'm having fun with my friends.
Yeah.
And all of the individuals who I spoke with, who were 95% males, because that's the dominant sex in the industry is men, they were like, yeah, I get it. I have a mom, daughter, sister, a woman in their life they care about. I'm like, great, where can I go get that training? And they're like, there is nothing. And again, it was that whole, why not? So I took a lot of those training materials that were geared towards protectors, the first line of defense individuals and said, as I read them, I'm like, wait, these are just really fancy terms for things that I do every day anyway in other areas of my life. And also, one of the things I had been really interested was a lot of leadership development in my career, professional development, how to have difficult conversations, how to negotiate for promotion, how to have these conversations, especially in a customer service situation where maybe that customer is really upset. It doesn't do you any good to make the situation escalate. How do you calm them down, make them feel heard, and find a solution? And so I was like, wait, these are all tactics that I did in that career development, that leadership development, personal development that I could use in personal safety, but no one's ever told me how to make that connection. So I thought, oh, okay, that'll be what I do. I'll translate. I'll be the bridge between the two, saying, ladies, we do this all the time. I feel like women are a lot more drawn to self-development, personal development, whether it's at work or just in our daily life. So
they're buying most of the books.
Exactly. So I'm like, we want to be better and we're already doing some of the work. We just need the dots connected. And so that's really what inspired me. And then it's grown in organically from there because I wasn't the only woman who wanted that information, who didn't want to necessarily carry a specific tool or didn't want to worry about going out on a girls' trip or going out to dinner at night and then not feeling safe walking back to their car.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't flashy though, right? You talk about about self-defense. And if you're avoiding danger and nothing happens, A, you don't know for sure that something bad would have happened. And B, it's not fun to talk about.
Yeah.
We don't sit around the campfire or don't sit around telling stories about a time that nothing happened. And so it's really hard. I know when I was writing my book, and you probably experienced this with your books, is they were like, okay, what's the hero's journey? And I'm like, nothing happening. And they're like, I don't know what to do with that. Because a lot of times too, then afterwards, women tend to, if something negative happens to them, if they experience some sort of an assault, the shame in that also comes from society. What were you wearing? How much did you have to drink? What did you lead them on? All of the things. So if something bad happens, what I've seen anecdotally and from my own experiences is, yeah, it must have been my fault. I must have done something wrong. Versus putting the blame where it belongs on the person who committed the crime against us. And so then people don't talk about it.
Yep.
And we don't learn about it. And or if there's not one prescriptive way to handle a situation. So in our minds, we might decide, I didn't do that right because it took 30 minutes to calm them down and get them to leave me alone, or instead of 10. Instead of celebrating, like, actually, it doesn't matter. You walked away unhurt, unimpacted in a traumatically physical way, and they walked away. So that's a huge win. Doesn't matter how long it took because there's so many nuances. The circumstances are different in each situation.
I'm going to so you started all of this because you wanted to be the bridge between, say it again. You wanted to be the bridge between.
To bring the points together, like the translator, connector, those points.
Yeah, because there's not a whole lot out there for women's safety and personal safety besides self-defense, and usually taught by some huge dude. So I always found that very unrelatable for a lot of people. So I love that you started this. So how do you actually work with people right now?
So I do either one-on-one coaching or a lot of times, especially around this time of year, the moms reach out, my daughter's going off to college. Can she just come take a safety class? And usually what I say is, get a bunch of her friends together and the moms. I always like when it's mother-daughter partner. And I said, let's get together. I teach this is how all of your senses work. This is how your intuition works. It's not woo-woo. This is how it helps build that trust with your intuition. And then we talk about, here's scenarios. Here's ways to think about it. Here's body language. There's a lot of times too, our intuition will be like, something's off with this person.
I want to talk about intuition, but first, so one-on-one, you bring them into groups. I think that's brilliant because we need to have more conversations in groups. Yes, but don't you also have a membership?
Yes. So we have the Sharpening Collective, which is our online community space that we had just kicked off last fall, and we're beta testing what is really helpful for women.
Yeah.
What do women really want?
Yeah.
And then we push pause because we are now launching the subscription box, which you had mentioned in the intro.
Yeah.
And now everyone who buys a subscription box will have access to the online community for free. And so really it's that come together because a lot of times women don't know where to go to ask questions. And so it's that space to come together where it's safe to ask questions. And then I also have a branch of my company that does the corporate workplace violence training. And that's where I'll go into corporations because yes, active threat training is very important. But how about we talk about all the things we should do before the threat gets to the front door? And so again, it's that trusting your intuition, reading body language, being able to articulate your observations. Because like I like to say, creepy is not illegal and weird is subjective. So coming to HR or you're going to security saying, so-and-so is really weird. That's nothing that they can take action on because that doesn't mean the same thing to every person. Able to say, this is the body language that I observed. These are the behaviors. And being able to tie it all together, then HR or security or whomever can take that information and go, okay, I understand what you're saying. And now we know what to look for and watch for because in that pathway to violence, there are escalating behaviors. So if you can start noticing patterns and then noticing when the behaviors are increasing or following the pathway, moving along it, that's when you can say, okay, we need to deal with this and get this individual help.
Yeah.
To get them whatever services they need because we don't want them to get to the point where they think violence is their only response.
Let's now dive into intuition a bit. Like, out of all the women that you talk to, what would you say is the most common thing that women do when they don't listen to their intuition?
So,
or the most common scenario, I should say, or
I think it's those little nuances, those little like, oh, that was weird. Oh, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I think of a coworker situation, or maybe it's networking event, right? Especially for women, and I talk a lot with women about this, is we'll be going out into a work environment, a networking environment, and start talking, and let's say it's a vendor. And the vendor is talking to us and they're male, and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And they're talking to us about work. And it's, yeah, okay, yeah, let's have a coffee tomorrow morning before the conference starts and talk. So you're all excited. You're like, oh, this is a vendor I've been hoping to work for or work with. And then you sit down at coffee and all of a sudden it's, wait, we're not really talking about works. It's suddenly turning into a little bit more personal questions. And so then it's okay, the coffee meeting was over. And now from my experiences as women go, is it business? Should I follow up? Do I send an email? Do we have another meeting? Or should I just leave it alone? Yeah. Because then if you're not following up, you're not getting the business. But also if you continue to follow up and then you get uncomfortable and let's say they do something, whether they're reaching over and touching your hand across the table or something that you're like, no, this is definitely not work anymore. And you say something like, hey, I just want to keep this professional. So many times, either the male of the other company will be like, geez, who do you think you are? I think you're hot stuff. I'm just talking about work. Like they can blow it off too easy because it's too gray.
Gaslighting.
Or all of a sudden, they're not interested in talking to you anymore. So did you lose business because you offended? Which, like, how fair is that then to the woman? Like, I can't tell you how many times where it's like, you can't go out to a dinner meeting at night or don't have drinks with someone at night. Or when you're at a business networking event, make sure you have a female buddy partner with you. Okay, that makes me feel like I'm 12. I can't go anywhere by myself. And so it's something really interesting and nuanced that I really like having these conversations with women because I want to be successful. I want the promotions. I want to climb and earn more money and achieve my goals. But if I have to worry that every person of the opposite sex is actually just trying to get a date, like that's not going to help, especially in a very male-dominated industry. I have to work with men. And so some of those nuances and that intuition, if you're uncomfortable and you say something and they gaslight you or suddenly that interest in the business goes away, you can just take into consideration, probably just avoided a bad situation in the future. But it is what it is.
So how would you say that intuition speaks to us?
But I always say intuition is going to communicate with each person a little bit differently. For me, it literally happens in my like stomach. Like I will feel it physically where my stomach will feel uncomfortable. Oh, I almost feel a little bit nauseous. Something's off. Something's not right. That's where my intuition. Sometimes people like the hairs on the back of their neck, that might be a true, like intense fear signal or something in their chest, like a heaviness. And usually for me, in my experiences, when that starts happening, and I'm like, okay, am I reading too much into this person's behavior? What do I know about them? What's my history with them? How well do I know them? And then I'll sometimes put someone that I trust completely in that spot and say, okay, if that was that person doing that, would I think it was odd? Or would they ever do something like that? And a lot of times it clears that up really fast. You were on our podcast, Thrive and Afraid. Doug's a great example. So respectful. And there's times we'll talk and he'll be like, I would never do that. That's not okay. And sometimes we need that person to say, no, that is a little bit weird. I would never do that to a female colleague, to call us out of it and be like, oh yeah, I was overthinking that my alarms were going off. I was denying it too much. No, that makes me uncomfortable. And that's okay. I'm not overreacting.
Yeah. Why do you think women override their intuition?
Because of those gray areas, because of that gaslighting. You're overacting, you're over emotional, all of the things that people second guess because they weren't there.
Again, in your work with either corporate women or women that come to your collective, I hate to ask this, but what are the most hideous kind of crimes or situations that women have found themselves in that you would say happens probably more than we think?
I really think it's that romantic interest.
Yeah, you keep coming
Guys
back
has
to
a
that.
business. I do, because that's what I keep hearing about, or just the bait and switch. Even females doing that to males. I was sent a video where it was I think he was in his mid-20s, younger gentleman. He had played some pro sports. He had gotten out of that. And so he had created his first LinkedIn profile, trying to figure out, now I got to get a job. And he had this woman reach out and say, I'm a recruiter and I'd love to set up a time to interview. And basically, he was like excited, goes through, literally sent him a survey ahead of time. I had him answering a bunch of questions, got him on the call, did this interview, asked him a bunch of questions. And then at the very end of the call, she said, actually have to be honest with you. I've been following you for a long time and I didn't know how to reach out. So I thought this would be the only way I could connect with you. And she's like, I understand if that creeps you out, you don't want to talk to me anymore, whatever. And anyway, he's doing this video in his truck afterwards going, I don't know whether to be flattered or whether to be like offended or upset. And it was this whole mix of emotions. So it happens to people. And so I think it's that false pretenses. Why? Are you seriously interested in my work? Are you seriously interested in booking my services, buying my product? Or are you seriously interested in being a friend? Are you trying to help me out because you see, I don't know, you see me out trying to do something and I can't figure it out. So you're just being like, oh, hey, I know how to do that. I'll help you. Or is there other underlying intentions?
And obviously I guess it's only a bad thing if the person has bad intentions, right?
And so that's why I think these conversations are so important, being able to have conversations where people disagree or have a different perspective. Because how else are we ever going to learn? And that's where, when the shame hides the behaviors, that's where shame doesn't talk about the truth. And how often are women asked to just buck up? Or what did you expect? You're a young, attractive female in a male-dominated industry. Okay, that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean she shouldn't talk about when she doesn't feel safe.
Yeah. In self-defense world, that kind of topic comes up a lot when women are out running by themselves or hiking by themselves, and you have these armchair quarterbacks saying, oh, she shouldn't be out running by herself. I literally saw it on the news one time. A man said that about a woman who was walking alone at, I think it was like 4:45 a.m. or something. Guess what? She was going to work. She was walking to her commute to get to work. What is she supposed to have a buddy to do that?
Exactly. Oh, but then they make fun of us.
Yeah.
And
Speaking of, when it comes to women and travel, I know probably a lot of people out there listening are big travelers like myself, like you. In your trainings, what are some of the top tips that you would give women who are traveling a lot?
our third box in our series is going to be specific to travel safety. So each of our boxes has a theme. But for travel safety, to your point, I travel a lot. I have a lot of girlfriends who travel a lot. It's really about keeping your head up. I do a lot of research before a trip. Even if I'm going somewhere in the domestic United States, somewhere that's not a tier 1 city that, okay, we're not going to New York City necessarily. We're going to a small town or a smaller region town. I still look up where my hotel is and just look around at the area. What kind of an area is my hotel in? What can I walk there? What does that look like? Should I drive? Ubers versus taxis. I actually, if there's a taxi available, I will take a taxi versus an Uber.
Tell me why.
They're union. Not many people go to be taxi drivers anymore. So they're typically have done taxi driving for decades.
Yeah.
They're actually proud of it. They know the cities. They might have some interesting information about the city, which if they get talking, I try and get them talking about anything other than me. And I've just found that there is a sense of pride because they're competitive with Uber. They want to make sure you have a good experience. And then, of course, I always take the picture of their driver placard and send it to whoever I'm with. But so that's my preference of why I pick. And with Ubers, I just never know who's showing up, how long they've been driving. Because to be honest, when I'm ordering an Uber, I'm usually grabbing my suitcase, going to the queue. So I'm not really looking through their reviews or reading too much into their profile. I'm just like, I'm looking for this car with this license plate and this driver's name.
That's interesting because I always wonder about that. And I tend to use Ubers more because then I can share my location with my husband. But even if I'm in a taxi, I could still do that with my iPhone or whatever. Just I share my location with him all the time. And that is something that I started suggesting to when I teach self-defense, to realtors, to anyone. Everyone should share their location with at least someone. But I like your thought on the taxi drivers because it does, especially in New York when you have to get the medallion. It's a whole thing. And just yesterday from the airport, I took a taxi for the first time in a long time. So that's a good tip. So
that
research the whole location.
Oh, and I was going to say the hotel, because remember all the articles that were coming up about men getting keys to women's rooms without being on the room, the hotel giving men keys to women's rooms. As I was saying, it's just my name. I am by myself, and obviously making sure that who's around, because I don't want to be telling and broadcasting to everyone that I'm there by myself, but just saying no one else is allowed a key to my room, and being very specific about that. Many times it's a female front desk agent, not all the time, but a lot of times it is, and they get it. So it's just being very clear. I am the only one allowed in this room.
Wow. We shouldn't even have to say that, but it's so important. Also, when I'm very aware when they're giving me my room and my room key, that they just write down the number and show it to me and give it to me versus saying it out loud and saying your personal information out loud at the desk. If I know that desk agents are trained to not say your room out loud, but sometimes it happens and it slips. So make sure that's not the case and ask for a new room if it does happen.
Right. Yeah. And one little thing is that, again, I don't know if it's from watching true crime documentaries or just the nature of the work.
Yeah.
But if a guy is getting off the elevator on the same floor as me, I will let him get off first, even though he's on a ladies first. I'm like, no, go ahead, to see which way he goes. Because if he goes in the direction of my room, I will go the opposite and just keep walking until I hear him go into his room and shut the door and then come back. Same. It's just a little extra layer where I'm like, because I don't want to be walking and they'll have that awkward, oh, you're in the room next to me. And then it's like,
yeah,
I just don't want him knowing where my room is, or anyone knowing where my room is.
Yeah, I was following a woman to what looked like to her room just the other day because we got on the same floor. Got off the same floor. So I verbally said to her, I am sorry. I know it looks like I'm following you, but literally my room is right down the hall as well. But I think that's important because we can make each other feel more comfortable. And I always appreciate when I'm out on the street or whatever, and men are either jogging behind me or walking behind me, like, just give us space, communicate, say, hey, heads up, I'm behind you, or coming up from behind, or on your left, on your right.
Yeah.
Because like we sense, we will have those intuitive feelings that are, and this is another good topic, that aren't correct sometimes. Like a guy could just be like running because he's running out for a jog behind you, and we're like, I do that all the time, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But he wasn't meaning to hurt me. So how do we know when our intuition is right, when it's not right, when there should be fear or not fear? Like, how do we navigate this?
I would say just trust your intuition, because the worst case scenario, if you're alert, you're present, you recognize that there's a male about to cross your path on the trail, and you're alert and aware and nothing happens, great. But if something does happen, you're already present. You're not going to be caught off guard, not going to be surprised. I shared a video on my page where I work out. There's a trail. And so when it's nice weather, if I have time, I'll usually just go walk the trail for a little bit as a warm up, because it's just out in the country and it's gorgeous. And I was walking, and there was this guy, and I could tell he was looking at me, and I'm like, oh, God. Okay. So I started sizing him up. I'm like, okay, he's a little bit taller than me. Where are we at? Yep. This is behind some apartment buildings. So there's cameras. I've seen him before. Had my Sharpie tool on me, and I'm like all prepared. And when we came up to each other, he goes, hey, it's Kelly, right? And I was like, totally caught me off guard. I'm like, yeah. And because this is how it was. Like, yeah, I'm confirming that you're who I'm after. And he's, my dad is so and so. And I'm like, it was my favorite boss's son.
Aw.
And then I laughed, but I was prepared. I was mentally like, okay, I was locked in. It's too funny. I saw him this past week at a coffee shop. And so I said, I have to tell you that when you were walking on the trail, I was sizing you up. He goes, I could tell. He goes, the minute you looked around and checked your 6, I knew. He goes, I scared her. And so it's like, men with no ill intentions are very aware. Oh my gosh, I just made her uncomfortable, because he's reading your body language. She is now at a little bit more of an alert stage. She just checked to see if anyone was behind her, if this was going to be a distraction. And he goes, and so that's why I said right away, are you Kelly? Because I wanted to call out loud in case you weren't, and just be like, sorry, I mistook you for somebody else. And so to me, always trust your intuition. That means you're safe, or you're getting to safety. You're preparing to avoid a situation. It's only when we don't listen and we're like, it's probably nothing, that then we get caught off guard and suddenly find ourselves in more of a split-second decision-making.
Wow. Great advice there. So size people up, especially when you're out alone.
Don't be afraid to make eye contact or stare at their foreheads if you don't want to make complete eye contact.
Okay, good. I like that. I say that too. That way they know that you see them and there's no surprises about to happen. Any other top advice that you would give women? And these are 2 separate questions.
For women,
Yeah.
get curious. Just get curious. Not always looking for danger, but the more you're looking around, make it a habit. You're going to notice flowers blooming and birds chirping, and you might catch a random act of kindness that it restores your faith in humanity.
Yeah.
So just be curious. Learn to observe and take in your surroundings.
And what are some safety tools that you carry around?
I always have my flashlight. I love my flashlight. Small, compact, in my head, high lumens, very bright, with a beveled edge for striking if need be. And it can go on airplanes with me and go on to concerts. And then I would say...
And what would a flashlight do if you were in danger?
So for me, when even if it's during the day, I'll put the flashlight in my hand, just have it in my hand, because it fits nicely in the palm of my hand. So it's not like a huge mag light for anybody who grew up with those. But at night, then if I'm going, let's say, leaving a sport game and I'm going back to my vehicle, I'm going to have the flashlight on and shining it around all the dark corners, scary things. And like I say to people, who else has flashlights at night? Usually security or police. And so it's, if someone's laying in wait, waiting for a potential victim, and they see a flashlight beam, they might not stick around to see if it's a cop holding it. And so it's one of those tools that is functional. And then if someone does come around a corner, and even if they're just walking to their own car and I shine it in their eyes, they're going to be temporarily blinded, which gives me time to either get to safety, turn around, go back, or they'll be just fine in 4 minutes. Yeah. Or just walking to their car. So that's my favorite tool.
Okay. Any others?
Of course, all my non-permissive environments, my Sharpie tools that are non-metallic, just in case something comes up that if I'm ever attacked, that I have a way to defend myself that can also go a lot of places with me that doesn't look like a scary tool.
What is it called? A Sharpie tool?
A Sharpie. It looks like a marker.
Oh.
And the marker piece is taken out of it and it's replaced with a fiberglass. And so it's non-metallic. So I keep one in my handbag at all times because I can go everywhere with it. And I was in a MARTA train, a white car one time, and a gentleman's behavior, a guy's behavior, was making me uncomfortable. And so I just got out my Sharpie and started fiddling with it like a pen. And I was ready in case. So I like those kind of things because I don't want to not be prepared should a situation arise.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, before we start to get to our rapid fire questions, last kind of big question is, if every woman listening woke up tomorrow trusting herself just 10% more, trusting her intuition just 10% more, how would her life change?
Oh, it would be so much better. Even that little 10%. Stop gaslighting yourselves, ladies. Trust yourself. You know what you need to be happy, to feel mentally and emotionally and physically good, healthy, right? If you're healthy and you're not full of worry or stress all the time, you're going to feel better overall. Your quality of life, you'll be more mindful, more present in your relationships.
Yes.
It's all a good thing.
So it can literally help every area of our lives. Okay. What's going to be in your first subscription box?
So there'll be an alarm, my book. We're going to have some daily habit cards. So it's like a deck of cards that on daily, hey, do this today to increase and sharpen your situational awareness. VR, situational awareness training scenarios that you can do on a headset or on a desktop or your mobile.
Wow.
And a glass breaker seatbelt cutter tool.
Oh.
Membership to the community, the Stroke Women Collective, and then each tool will have a short little training video. I went and broke some glass on some cars last week to show you how the tool works. Cut a seatbelt. This is how you do it.
Okay.
So it's like actually how to use the product.
Amazing. Okay. Wonderful. So you ready for your rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Okay. What's the most overrated safety advice?
Just be aware of your surroundings. What? What am I looking for?
Most underrated safety tool?
Flashlight.
What's your morning practice?
Breakfast. I had to eat breakfast.
Yeah.
I have a good breakfast.
What do you have?
Do egg whites and a whole egg, spinach, red onion, and blueberries.
Okay, so you're getting that protein in. I like it. If you could have a drink with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be and what's in your cup?
I would say Sarah Blakely, and it would be coffee.
Awesome. Coffee with Sarah Blakely. What's your favorite nonfiction book that everyone should read besides yours?
Oh my goodness.
And self-help. Sorry, nonfiction self-help.
I have to say The Art of Badassery, and I'm not even kissing your butt right now. I love how you tie so much about the dojo. And again, that's to me where it's the life skills, and you're not just personal safety. So much of your book is also about inner confidence and growth and strength and believing in yourself and going out and all how to step onto the mat. It gives you chills even to think about it. So I definitely recommend your book to everyone.
Thanks. But last but not least, what is your favorite hype song that will go on the Art of Badassery playlist?
Oh my goodness. I have so many. The one that I have currently been jamming out to over and over again, and I don't even know how to pronounce the person's name, but it's called On My Soul.
On My
It's
Soul.
by Toby Nuegwa.
Tell everyone where we can connect with you and get the box and your book and all the good things.
So we are the Diamond Arrow Group on all the channels, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, all over the place. But going to the website, thediamondarrowgroup.com, right now you can get our notification list because the founders box, which we're doing 250 founders for, USA, happy birthday next week or coming up here in July 4th. And we're only selling 250 of the founders boxes. That'll have some special goodies. And then after that, the annual subscription or individual boxes, they're one a quarter. So just go to the website, get on the email notification list. And we're actually running a promotion next week, which is June 19th to the 26th. But anybody can join the Shark Women Collective. We have free memberships available and then paid memberships at different levels.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Art of Badassery podcast. Make sure you are subscribed and you're following along for the next episode. And please share this with a woman in your life who may have a dull edge and just need a little bit reminder and a little bit of sharpening to keep her safe, confident, and happy in the world.